What's up, guys? It's iBerserk here. Today I'm going to teach you how to draft better in Strixhaven Limited. Strixhaven was released on April 23rd of 2021, and it is the 87th Magic the Gathering expansion. It takes place at the Strixhaven School on the plane of Archetypes. Before we start, we have to familiarize ourselves with the new mechanics. Every new set comes with new mechanics to keep things fresh, and Strixhaven is no different. To start things off, we have the Magecraft mechanic. This mechanic activates an ability on a creature every time an instant or sorcery spell is played. We also have learn spells and lesson spells. Learn spells are played in your main deck and allow you to retrieve a lesson spell from your sideboard to fetch an answer to a problem that you're having. A good example of this is Cram Session. It's a black and green card that gains 4 life and then allows you to learn for a lesson in your sideboard that hopefully can solve a problem that you're having. Ward is another returning mechanic to the set. This mechanic causes your opponent to pay an additional cost, be it life or mana, whenever they target a creature with the Ward mechanic. Another returning mechanic are modal double face cards. You can choose to play the front or back side of these cards for their corresponding mana costs. Additionally, double lands have been introduced to this set. The rare or snarl version of these cards comes into play untapped if you reveal their corresponding land type at the time you play them. The common version, or the campus version, comes into play tapped but allows you to scry later for 4 mana. Strixhaven is unique in that it not only contains its own set of cards, but also contains the Mystical Archive set of cards. The Mystical Archive set of cards occupies a common in the Strixhaven packs that you open. These can be used in Limited with no restrictions. Most of the cards are legal in Historic, and existing cards that are legal are also able to be played in Standard. The Strixhaven expansion has a theme that revolves around going to college. There are 5 main colleges that are tied to oppositional color pairings. This is rare in that most expansions have color pairings that are adjacent, while Strixhaven has oppositional color pairings. The 5 colleges are Silverquill, white and black, Prismari, blue and red, Quandrix, blue and green, Lorehold, white and red, and Witherbloom, green and black. Okay, now that you have the basics, I think we're ready to get into some draft strategies. One lesson I've learned when drafting is that you want to try to stick to your college colors. Drafting outside of your college colors will often end in heartbreak. I'm not saying that you can't splash for a third color if you have a powerful card that you're trying to squeeze in, but the mana fixing is very difficult in Strixhaven. There really aren't a lot of mana fixing cards in the set. If you want to go 3 colors, draft as many of the common campus lands as possible. Strixhaven Limited Drafting is a lot like Strixhaven Sealed Drafting. However, you can expect the cards and decks to be more tuned and that you're less likely to get to higher land counts unless you have cards that help you retrieve lands. Okay, so what's the meta? What does the ideal deck look like? Ideally, it's going to have 13 to 15 creatures, probably no less than 12. It's going to have 2 to 3 learn spells, 1 to 3 lessons, 2 to 3 draw spells, and 17 lands. All right, so let's talk archetypes. For Silverquill College, it's a tier 1 aggro deck. It's got sub-themes of +1/+1 counters, going wide, flying, and getting value when your creatures die. It also has the Inkling flying 2/1 token. All right, next is our blue-red Prismari College. It's all about getting one big turn that can turn the tempo of the game. It has sub-themes of tempo, treasure ramp, instants and sorceries in your graveyard, and its mascot is a 4/4 elemental token. Up next is Witherbloom. It's your black-green life gain deck. It's got plenty of removal, large creatures, and just will run over the opponent. Its mascot is a 1/1 pest that when it dies, you gain 1 life. Lorehold is our red-white color pairing. It typically, in most expansions, is the most aggressive playstyle. In this one, it's more control-ish than other sets. It tends to reward putting cards into the graveyard and removing graveyard items to gain 3/2 spirit tokens. Last but not least is our green-blue Quandrix College. It's all about math. It's about getting lands on the board and having awesome amounts of things happen in one explosive turn and blowing the opponent out of the water in no time at all, when they least expect it. Its mascot is the Fractal token. It comes into play with +1/+1 counters, usually for the amount of mana that you spend on it. One quick note on artifacts, enchantments, and equipment spells. There are not a lot of them in this set. The set is intentionally focused on casting instants and sorceries, but that being said, there are some equipment spells that are worth mentioning. One of them is Poet's Quill, which gives a creature +1/+1 and lifelink. And it also allows you to learn when you cast it. Next is Team Pennant, which gives a creature +1/+1, vigilance, and trample. And the last is Zephyr Boots, which gives a creature flying, and whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card and discard a card. Here are the top removal spells of Strixhaven Limited. First is Expel. It's a white spell that allows the caster to destroy target tapped creature. Next is Shock, which does 2 points of damage to a target, and Heated Debate, which cannot be countered. Next is Devouring Tendrils, which acts like a ram through with a life gain benefit. Mortality Spear is also very popular for green and black. It destroys target non-land permanent. Bury in the Books is very popular for blue, which takes a creature and puts it 2 from the top of the opponent's library. Lastly, there's Introduction to Annihilation, which is a colorless lesson which can sit in your sideboard and be called upon with a learn spell. The downside to this spell is that the opponent gets to draw a card if you remove their permanent. A lot of people don't know this, but one of the ways that you can tell a YouTube creator that you like the content and that you'd like to see more content of this type is by hitting the subscribe button. This is a very visible feature in the analytics dashboard and tells a creator that if they want to continue to get subscribers, that they should keep putting out this type of content. So if you found this useful and you'd like to see more of this, please hit the like button and subscribe. It tells us a lot and it helps the channel. Thank you a bunch. See you in the next one.